Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's Purple Sector F1 Racing League race here today in the wonderful streets of Interlagos, Sao Paulo, Brazil here. Now, I will be your commentator today. Wild Hero or Society, as some of you may know me. Excuse me if I also sound a little weird. I've been sick these last few days. Unfortunately, I caught the wonderful Christmas, New Year's sickness, so I've been dealing with it a little bit, to be quite honest with you. It's been a little tough. Thankfully, I'm coming down on it now, but nonetheless, I think I sound a little deeper. So I'll try not to be too ASMR today while we go through our wonderful calendar here. So as I just mentioned, we're racing in Interlagos today here in Brazil. Next week we'll be having a break before we do Suzuka and then Qatar, and then move into our final few races or sprint races of the year. If you missed out on Belgium last week, that should be on our YouTube channel. If not, it will be uploaded very shortly, and it was a phenomenal race to come back to. I mean, these guys really gave us just an absolute show. I had an absolute blast commentating that race, and there were some pretty crazy overtakes. There's an overtake I'm remembering right now on turn 17, I believe, coming up on the bus stop chicane, that like super fast left-hander somebody passed there on the outside. It gave me some Suzuka, Alonso versus Schumacher vibes. You know, he has a family to go back to. I don't. It was an awesome pass. But I'm quite excited here for today's race. Brazil is a fan favorite. It is a very popular race, and I have zero doubt in my mind that we're going to be seeing a lot of action today. Now, I do apologize. I just realized that for some reason my headphones aren't working. And there we go. Okay, cool. That solved that problem. But, ladies and gentlemen, moving on from the calendar, let's talk about our constructor standings here today. So we had a kind of a big upset here. We had VCarb pass Alpine in the constructors standings as of last race here. So VCarb and Alpine are now gunning for second position. VCarb obviously trying to overtake Ferrari here for the constructors championship title. These three teams have really put their pedal to the metal here and are trying to go all out in the final few races we have left here. So we're going to have to see how our Ferrari, VCarb, and Alpine drivers respond, as I'm sure they're undoubtedly aware of the overall position that they are facing, I guess, or that they're placed in. VCarb only 7 points away from overtaking Ferrari, and they had a very dominant race in Belgium. As you guys can see, they scored 38 points as a team, whereas Ferrari and Alpine only got 21 and 20 respectively. So if VCarb can keep this momentum, we can anticipate these guys to pass them on the constructors. But nonetheless, the Ferrari team has a very, very strong lineup with Reiner, and then Alpine, of course, equally a strong lineup with Rebel as their lead there. After that, we have Mercedes, Williams, and Red Bull here, kind of a little bit scattered, kind of close. Mercedes only 48 points away from Ferrari, Williams only 70, and then Red Bull kind of a little bit further behind there at 95 points. Only one of their drivers appeared in Spa, so they did miss out on a good chunk of points there, but we're going to have to see how they bring it back this time around. But moving on from the constructors, ladies and gentlemen, here are your top 15 drivers this season 13 here so far. MSA Samad has had a very dominant season. I believe MSA Samad hasn't dropped off from position 1 here on our scoreboard all season. A very, very dominant driver here. Again, one of the VCarb drivers. And only one driver is really challenging him for that top spot right now, and that's Rebel in the Alpine. So we're going to have to see how Rebel is able to show off here in Interlagos. Maybe we get a little bit of rain. Maybe we get a little bit of that Max Verstappen magic from 23 and 24. I don't know if you guys saw those races in general live, but man, Max is a wizard on wets and in rainy conditions. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining me here for the first time, do drop something in the chat. Once again, my name is Wild Hero. I'm your commentator today. But Continuing on here, Reimer, who is now in third position here, is our dominant Ferrari driver. Probably one of the bigger reasons they're leading the Constructors' Championship right now, at least at the moment. I got the pleasure of talking with him a little bit, and he is trying to gun for number one in the Drivers' Championship. Unfortunately, as you guys can see, he did start a little late there. He missed out on Great Britain, missed out on Mexico, and did not have a very good show out in China as well, so that did cost a fair amount of points. But nonetheless, he managed to pass a fan favorite Mudev here, who is currently in fourth place in the Mercedes. And that kind of clocks out our top four drivers. After that, 40 points after Mudev, we have Prosk, who's been a very strong, consistent driver here. Unfortunately, once again, did miss out on the last two races. That undoubtedly cost him some points for him and his team. And then we have Focoena and the Haas, who we've been watching improve throughout the season here. As you guys can see in Great Britain, Canada, finishing 9th and 15th, managing to bring it up to a 5th place. Unfortunately, had a 9th position finish in Monaco before now having a very consistent 4th to 6th place finish. That's been some very strong points for the Haas team here, and something that driver should be undoubtedly proud of himself about. But I won't spend too much time here looking at the remaining drivers only because we are coming up on our qualifying time, and I also need to admittedly talk to the track about the track with you guys here. But here are our remaining drivers. This should be 16th through the rest of the grid, which I believe is 32. As you guys can see, a fair amount of drivers. I do apologize. I realize that is a little grainy. There are a lot of names on that screen, so I thank you guys for putting up with me. I'll try to make that look a little prettier next time. But we've had a lot of drivers this season here, as you guys can see. So if you are interested in joining us and racing with us, we do have reserve positions where you don't have to be a full-time driver, but you're still able to race for a team. And in those cases, you can show up and fill up any spots that may be missing. But we always, of course, highly encourage you to join us as a full-time driver. We absolutely love having, recognizable names stick around throughout the whole season. And then, of course, even if you're not the absolute best in the grid, sometimes consistency is king, and that nets you high finishing positions and, a memorable name among the PSF1 racing group here. But ladies and gentlemen, moving on here, let's go over our track stats of the Sao Paulo GP Autodromo José Carlos Pace in Interlagos here. It is a very popular track, as I've previously mentioned. It's one of my personal favorites. I actually had the pleasure of racing in it in D2 today. And it's a very short one. It's a very technical track with a fair amount of tire wear. But apologize, I do have to cough. The fair amount of tire wear. So the Sao Paulo GP was introduced in 1940. The current layout you're looking at right now on your screen, though, was made and introduced in 1990 by our wonderful individual Herman Tilke. It actually doesn't give me who originally made it. It just says that it was a natural road course. So I don't entirely know what that means. I assume maybe there just happened to be a layout of the land and then they paved over it, would be my immediate guess. But nonetheless, Herman Tilke waved his hand over this track, and we now have the very memorable and recognizable Interlagos that we have now. It is a 4.31 kilometer track, or 2.68 miles. It has 15 corners, 10 left-handers and 5 right-handers, and a 43 meter or 141 feet elevation change. And that all primarily occurs in turns 1 to 2, much like how in Spa, I think turns 2 to 3 are pretty much the dominant changes in elevation. This is pretty much the same thing here. We're going to have a very sudden drop here between 1 and 2. We've seen a lot of overtakes actually in turns 1 through 2. A lot of the famous ones, I believe Lewis Hamilton, if I'm remembering correctly, had a very deep dive on... Oh, shoot, I don't remember. I was going to say Nico Rosberg, but I don't believe it was his teammate. He had a very deep dive on somebody. It might have been Fernando, honestly, that he dove very deep in the back dive, and he managed to get the pass done, though. So it's one of those tracks where we can see a lot of fun little shenanigans happen. But after we go through turns 1 and 2, which is referred to as the Senna's S here, we hit the Curva do Sol, or the sun turn. before we hit our first DRS zone here. Now, DRS, for those of you who may not know, is our drag reduction system. That lowers the... I was going to say drag, but can't really use that. You can't really use the word in the definition, can you? The drag reduction system minimizes the amount of airflow that goes through the car. And now what that does is it reduces the amount of resistance the vehicle needs to push against, specifically in the air, and that ultimately leads to a greater speed. So it's a pretty nice long straight here before you hit turns 4 and 5 here, the descent of the lake. I translated that. I don't know why, but that's the only curves that I translated from. I don't know what language they speak. I don't want to just say Brazilian, but the descent of the lake here, which is a wonderful little left-hander. It's a high momentum left-hander, which starts off our sector 2 here. Now, after you go through the descent of the lake and come out of turn 5, you start going uphill a little bit before you hit turn 6, 7, and 8. Turn 8 is kind of the peak of this little hill rise here, going through, again, turn 6, which is Ferradura, turn 7, Laranjina, and then turn 8 is unnamed, weirdly enough. But after that, hitting turn 8, you hit this sharp little right-hander before you go into this NASCAR-like curve, I want to say, where you hit turn 9 and you come out and hit the Pico de Pato, which is the mouth of a duck here, and then you take a nice little right-hander coming out of turn 10, sweeping left-hander in turn 11, and then you lastly hit turn 12 here in Juncao before you finally hit. It's not a straight here, as you guys can tell by the way the track flows, but it's a very high speed section between turns 12 to 1, to be quite frank with you. It really relies on exit on turn 12 to make sure you don't lose out. This is a very long section of the track. It's not a straight, obviously, so I don't believe it counts as the longest straight in F1 or anything like that. But a good majority / percentage of the track is this back end of Sector 3 up to the start of Sector 1. But very fun little track here. So Sector 1 here, as we've gone through, relies a lot on heavy braking. Again, turns 1 and turns 2 is a very strong downhill section. You really got to utilize your momentum properly here. You can lose the car quite easily. Your rears will go out on you. Now, jumping back up to Sector 2 here in blue, it's a very technical and rhythmic part of the track here. Now, if you're slow here, it's pretty much going to dictate your entire race pace, to be quite honest. Being able to control your rhythm, your pace, obviously your tire wear is really going to allow you to stick close to people as you come up ultimately on turn 12 here in Juncao at the start of Sector 3. So now Sector 3 is again a long full throttle uphill fight up until turn 1, so not really a lot going on here. We do hit our second DRS detection zone where once again the attacking car behind the defending car will have a pretty nice run up on somebody before they hit turn 1. But onto the primary overtaking zones here today. As I've mentioned many a time, T1 is obviously probably the most probable and preferred overtaking zone that any one driver has the pleasure of hitting. Turn 4 is actually a very popular one as well. Now, there's a fair amount of room. I actually had a wonderful fight here myself up in turn 4. As I've previously mentioned, I raced in D2, and I was up against a gentleman called Money, who is our race director here, and he went for an inside pass. I tried holding the outside on very old medium tires. Unfortunately, wasn't able to keep the position. His fresh hard tires got the overtake done on me, but nonetheless a very fun little side-by-side battle as you shoot through the descent of the lake. And then I have on my notes here, it's said in a lot of sections, which was a little surprising, but turn 12 is apparently a very popular overtaking zone. Now, I do believe that turn 12 is a little more popular in other forms of motorsport. F1 cars struggle to kind of fit through that turn, especially with how fast you need to approach it to really maximize your speed as you end up hitting the full throttle zone of the track. So we'll have to see if anybody takes advantage of that. I don't believe I've ever seen any overtakes done on that portion of the track, but that may change today, to be quite frank with you. So we'll have to see. But last and not least, ladies and gentlemen, I always enjoy talking about our real-life race winners here. As many of you may know or remember, in 2025, just last year, oh my God, it's not this year anymore, Lando Norris won here in Interlagos. In 24 and 23, Max Verstappen won. He had very, very phenomenal races there in the rain. I believe in 23 he started like in 18th, and in 24 he also started like ridiculously far back. Very, very fun race to watch. I believe this year as well, he also had a very, very back start, but he finished second. Unfortunately, not a race win, but nonetheless, a fantastic drive from Max Verstappen. In 2022, we had George Russell win. And then in 21 and 20, we had Lewis Hamilton. And then Michael Schumacher currently holds the record for most wins here with 4 wins in Interlagos. Senna, who is who doesn't know Senna? Ayrton Senna here. I'm going to be honest. If you don't happen to know Ayrton Senna, one of the most famous F1 racers ever, a 3-time world champion, he actually, his first win here was like in the worst possible conditions ever. I think he injured himself. He got stuck in first gear, and he only won because he was like 30 seconds ahead of second place, and I think second place was Alain Prost. So you can imagine how quickly that gap was starting to come down. So fantastic drive from Ayrton Senna. Won him his very first win here ever. I hate to say I don't quite remember the year, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me here on our track overviews. Time to move on to the game cap here. We're now watching our drivers in the pit lane here. As you guys can see, we have 13 magnificent PSF1 drivers here today. Once again, if you're joining me here for the first time, do drop something in the chat. I love talking with you guys. If you are interested in joining the PSF1 Racing League, again, we should have links available on our Twitch, but if not, do drop a little message in the chat. I can send an invite, or I can have somebody help me send an invite at least. And I do want to make sure you guys can hear. There we go. And we have an Alpine coming out right now. If I were to take a guess, I'm going to say that is Rebel. I believe he's the only Alpine actually, so that's not a terribly difficult guess to make here. But allow me to throw on the track map as well, and a little bit of lab data, and there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now watching Rebel here, second in the Drivers' Championship, coming out onto track, hitting the descent of the lake here right now, hitting turn 5. Let's go on board here so you guys get a better feel for the track, as he's now coming up onto turn 6 here. Turn 7's right there. And then this is turn 8 right here. Very tight right-hander, as I mentioned before. You hit this very interesting, I think it's a NASCAR-like turn. Now coming up on the Pico de Pato here, turn 10. Tight little right-hander here before hitting turn 11. A nice wide left-hander. And then ultimately hitting turn 12 here. A sharp left-hander. Again, I'm a little surprised this is a popular overtaking zone. I do believe that's another motorsport categories, as we're now watching Sector 3 here, the full throttle zone, turning on his DRS, I believe. And coming across the start-finish line, let's see what Rebel's able to hammer down now. Coming up to turn 1, we hear a little bit of a lockup there. Hitting turn 2 now. You really have to use as much of this track as possible when you're racing in Brazil. I mean, this track is absolutely unforgiving on track limits. I very ashamedly got 9 seconds worth of penalties just due to track limits alone. So for those of you who may not know, you get 3 warnings before you get a 3-second time penalty. So I did that enough to get 9 seconds. It was a little embarrassing, and it kind of cost me a little bit on my race, but I had a great time. I love racing in Brazil. It's a very fun track when it's dry. I'm a terrible wet racer. And as you guys can see, the sky is a little cloudy here right now, so we're gonna have to see if we get any rain here for these guys. Very smooth hot lap here from Rebel. Actually, as I said that, he loses the rears there a little bit coming out of turn 12. That's a very easy spot to lose the car. I lost it twice in my race, I completely spun out. And again, a little embarrassing, but it's always fun. As Rebel crosses the line, a 1:08.004, almost breaking into the 7-minute time here. Very, very strong lap. Let's jump over here to David Shahud 451 here in our Haas. He is recently our full-time driver, as Reimer now sets a 1:07.855, setting our provisional pole here, and is going to be the man to beat. Let's see if David Shahud here is able to get a fast lap in. He did just set a purple sector 2, I believe, and maybe in contention for a strong challenge here. 5 seconds, 6, 7, unfortunately not close enough, and moves into third position as IUF1 William, GDB, and Money all start setting times on the board here now. Let's jump over here to our Williams driver, Mini B-Man, who I believe also has recently joined us as a full-time driver. Him and David Shahud just joined us here after the winter break as full-time drivers. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Watching a nice smooth left-hander there into turn 12. Watching Mini B-Man slam his foot down on the throttle. Let's throw on some telemetry data here. Batteries completely depleted, 198 miles per hour as he crosses the finish line up into 6th position here. We're having a pretty strong show out here so far. Reimer is undoubtedly the dominant driver here at the moment, as Papatism, I believe, or no, excuse me, Focoena just set a time, moving up into 8th position, the second Haas car on the field today. Gunner, AD, and Money both set a 4.5. The McLaren cars starting adjacent to each other. A very strong time. Money had a very strong race in D2. Very good warm-up for him, undoubtedly. So we're going to have to see how he shows out here with a little more experience than the rest of these guys. It is going to be a 36-lap race. It is 50% of a full race here at PSF1. For those of you interested, for our Division 1 assists, we only, or we limit you, excuse me, to corners only for racing line. We do allow ABS. We only allow medium traction control. And then damage, I believe, is standard. And we do standard racing line, or not racing line, excuse me. I can't think of the word. As we see, ooh, whoa, visual glitch there. What is that? That's cool. Excuse me. And we do standard, I guess, strictness on whether you go over track limits or not. So nothing too crazy. Obviously, as I mentioned, I got 9 seconds. So, you know, whether it's standard or strict doesn't matter here too much. It will get you anyway. But let's jump over here to Mahmudev here, who did miss out on 2 races and was a contender for driver's champion. Off of points, and was also keeping the Mercedes team. Why am I lagging? Sorry guys, I'm having these weird visual glitches right now, and I hope they don't stick around. That's so odd. Well, anyway, Mahmudev here, who's a fantastic driver in the Mercedes here, unfortunately missed out on 2 races, and those 2 races cost him a fair amount of points here. We're going to have to see how he brings it back in the remaining 2 races of the season here. I have not gotten the opportunity to talk to Mudev here in the Mercedes car, but I have no doubt in my mind that he feels quite comfortable and quite confident in what he is driving here, as he's now going to be crossing the Sector 2 line and is did not set a purple Sector 1, but it does seem like he is going faster than the previous time he set. I do believe that we may have another minute 7 time breaker here, as Mahmudev comes up to the starting line. And no, unfortunately, Mudev only moves up into 4th position here, a 108.239, only pushing up past the McLaren team here. All right. Now, I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, as I do need to go get some water. I'm feeling a little parched in the throat here at the moment. But I do ask that you enjoy here as we're now watching Papatism. He is one of our reserve drivers here. So welcome Papatism to D1 here as he's racing for the kick team. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize about that. I am back now. It seems like Papatism has decided to go straight into the pit lane here. Thankfully, I came back at a good time, and it seems like 3 of our drivers have decided to bail out on the remainder of the session here. Mahmudev has also decided to retire from the session here. It doesn't seem like these drivers think they're going to be getting a much faster time. It actually looks like, and I believe I missed it, but it looks like it might be raining. It is, in fact, raining. None of these guys are going to be going any faster than they have already clocked. So I can see why a lot of these guys are just deciding to bail on the remainder of the qualifying session here. As we're now watching Money here going through turn 8 now. Or excuse me. Oh, as he loses the rear coming into turn 9. Yeah, I have zero doubt that must be brutal conditions here. As he's now hitting the Pico de Pato here, losing the rears. I think this is just a good show of proof, ladies and gentlemen, how just intense this track can be, especially in the wet. There's so many variations in the ground that if you just don't have confident control in the car, or at least like rear control, you can lose it. Because what's happening to him right now is just an over-exaggerated version of what can still happen to you, even in dry conditions here. Every point where you've seen this gentleman struggle with rear car control has been a very real moment that can occur even in dry conditions. As we're actually going to be watching Money here stay out on track, it seems like. Here's a good turn 1 into turn 2. Yes, this track is absolutely brutal on your rear tires as well. I had the displeasure of of staying out with some very, very bad tires. As we're actually watching Despy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here on intermediate tires. It seems like Despy maybe trying to get a feel for the wet conditions, I guess. We're going to have to see. There's not that many drivers left, obviously. Reimer, who has now definitively seems like they're going to be our pole sitter here. David Shahud, Mini B-Man, Despy, and Goatley. As David Shahud has now decided to retire from the session, we only have 4 drivers left available for any kind of time qualifying. But we'll have to see what Despy does here. I don't believe Despy is going to be going any faster than the 109 they set, obviously, but I do believe this is Despy's just learning opportunity, I guess. I got very thankfully blessed to have a dry race in D2, so did not have to practice the wet conditions, which Interlagos is very famously known for, to be fair. I think one of the biggest reason so many people like Interlagos is because it's almost always a guaranteed rain race, and that just can change up everything. I mean, it makes the cars all equal. It's really down to driver handling and skill, and you know what, that could be the case here today as well. I don't know if we're going to be having a wet race still, or different varying weather race. We could have like dry and wet conditions. That'd be awesome. I'd really enjoy watching what these guys do in those situations. So we're now watching Despy here come up into turn 12. A little bit of a swing there. You saw his rear kind of come out ahead of him there. Again, it really seems to me like Despy's just trying to get a feel for the wet conditions of the track here right now. It really seems like Despy wants to get a feel for the wet conditions of the track right now. I do apologize, guys. You're going to be seeing my pause pop up here. Oh, man. Seems like we are missing one of our Williams drivers. I just double checked. He's in the pit lane. Never mind, actually. Prosk is in the pit lane, and he just decided to retire from the session. That will be a little bit unfortunate for the Williams team. Prosk had a very good show out in D2. So I have zero doubt in my mind that he was feeling quite comfortable and strong. We're going to have to see what happens here now. I do apologize once again. I am currently looking at some stuff here off to the side of my screen relating to the stream. Unfortunately, OBS was being a little weird with me today, so I just want to make sure everything is good and ready to go here before I get comfortable and start commentating for y'all. It seems to me that Despy, as I previously mentioned, though, is just kind of going through the motions here, enjoying himself. Still crossing the finish line. There are 3 minutes and 40 seconds left, so I mean, Despy's in their full right here to get as many wet laps as they'd like to get in. But if you're joining me here for the first time, do say something in the chat. I absolutely love talking to you guys. We're currently watching one of two non-retired drivers currently on track practicing wet condition driving here in Interlagos. Now, I'm going to be really excited. I don't know about you guys. I'm going to be very, very excited if this is a wet race. I'm curious if any of these guys will maybe struggle a little more than others, obviously. Maybe this is a good opportunity to have racers starting at the lower end of the grid here move up. A lot of things can happen. Obviously, crashing as well is a huge one, especially in these types of leagues, of course. Well, I don't know. There's actually been some pretty crazy events in professional leagues, right? But nonetheless, I feel like you always see some wonderful strategies or decision-making that occurs in non-pro leagues here, such as ourselves. And I'm very excited to see if anybody decides to maybe come up with a certain something. As we actually see Despy shoot off of the track there, coming up past turn 12, I believe. Or, excuse me, that's not turn 12, 14. Almost losing control of the car and hitting the wall there. So, good save there from Despy. Really trying to put pedal to the metal here. Despy's really trying to just get as used to this track as possible. I'm so curious how the other racers feel right now about what's happening. I'm sure they probably just want Despy to retire and call it and just get this race started, huh? Now, I do feel a little silly. I was racing D2 and I wasn't stuffed at all. I was talking normally, and as soon as I need to start commentating, immediate stuffy nose. I sound like I feel like I'm talking through like a layer of cloth right now. I do apologize about that, guys. That's a little embarrassing. I hope none of you guys got sick, because I am so unhappy that I got sick. I mean, it started off as nasal drip. And I just moved into the city that I live in right now, so I don't even have a doctor here. I had to go to urgent care so they could check me out, because I was trying to tough it out. I really was. I was Dayquil, NyQuil. I have this nebulizer my mom gave me, some like cheap over the counter Mexican thing. We go to Juarez, so we get some stuff over there, and oh my goodness, did not help. So yeah, I had to go to urgent care. Thankfully, it was empty. I went at like 1 a.m. on purpose because I knew nobody was gonna be there, and I got like a steroid shot. They said they didn't know what it was because it came back negative for COVID and flu and any of like the common stuff. There's like A, B, C, D versions of all that stuff now, and yeah, they just gave me stuff and said, "Be happy." So I've been feeling a little better, admittedly, but yeah, unfortunately, my nose just decided to get stuffy right now. But ladies and gentlemen, it seems like qualifying here is over. As soon as Despy crosses the finish line here, we will be moving on to our race. I'd like to thank you for your patience here, as Despy is in his right as a driver to get as many qualifying laps as he wants in, and if he wants to use those laps to get comfortable in rainy conditions, then by all means, that's what he wants to do. Crossing the finish line here now. Very unfortunate moment, though, for anybody who wasn't able to improve on their times. I believe everybody only got 1 or 2 fast laps in, actually. But, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see here, we have Reimer in the Scuderia Ferrari HP leading us off in pole position here, followed by Rebel in the Alpine, David Schud in the Haas, Mahmudev in the Mercedes, Gunnar AD in the McLaren. I believe this is his highest starting qualifying position. Once again, followed by his teammate Money in 6th position, Foco N on the Haas in 7th, Mac in 8th, IUF1 William in the Aston Martin in 9th place, Mini B-Man in the Williams in 10th, Papatism in the Kick Sauber in 11th, Despy in the Red Bull in 12th, GDB 0791 in the Aston Martin, and then Prosk, who is in the Williams, I believe, at the end of our list here. I don't believe I missed any other drivers, but nonetheless, we shall see. Now, here in PSF1, we do one formation lap, have our drivers, meander around, and we are going to be waiting here for some of our players to load in. It seems like it's actually going to be a dry condition race, so I'm sure some of our guys are cheering right now. I was a little excited for the wet race. I do apologize to the drivers. I wanted to see the chaos. I wanted to see the carnage. The turn 1 shenanigans would have been absolutely beautiful. I hope I'm not the only one who thinks that here. But I do apologize. I'm going to be stepping away once again for a quick 20 seconds here to get something on my end here. Maybe help me deal with the snuffles here that I got. Good heavens. Sorry about that, guys. Again, I don't mean to be stepping away. I was completely fine in my race earlier today. I think the adrenaline just wore off, but throw on some Vicks Vapo Rub. Good old reliable there. Hopefully that cures me of all my illnesses now. We are still waiting for some of our racers to load in here right now, so I thank you guys for your patience if you're joining me here for the first time. Now, I did want to see what the paddock chatter was as well for Despy, and it seems like everybody was asking him to retire. So that's a little funny. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in our formation lap here, and this is very strange. I've never had this visual glitch here before. It seems like I really don't like that. I've really never seen something like that before. But an odd visual glitch. I do apologize if you guys could put up with me for that one. But ladies and gentlemen, to go through our formation lap here, Reimer in the Scuderia Ferrari HP leading us off here, followed by Rebel in the Alpine. Oh my gosh, what is happening? There we go. Rebel in the Alpine, David Schud in the Haas, Mahmudev in the Mercedes here, 4th place start for him. Gunnar AD 77, I believe his highest start yet here. So big ups to Gunnar and the McLaren team. Money here, who's currently split by Focoena, actually. I believe he may have fallen a little too far behind here. We get to see possible race strategies here. We'll have to see what happens. The one stop is going to be quite difficult here. The tire wear is quite aggressive in Interlagos here. But moving on, we have Focoena in 7th place here in the Haas, Mac, excuse me, in the Red Bull, IUF1 William in the Aston Martin, Mini B-Man in the Williams, Papatism in our reserve team, Kick, Despy in the Red Bull, GDB 0791 in the Aston Martin, Prosk in the Williams, and followed out here by Goatley in the Alpine. Very, very fun starting lineup here. But I will be disabling this, ladies and gentlemen, and as we move into our actual race here, I'd like to keep that clear. That's strange. I've never seen this effect before. It's like the heat of the car, but it's like messing it all up now. I've never had this visual glitch before. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are strapped into your seats here as the lights are coming on. And away we go. A very strong start by Rebel here, it seems like, coming up into turn 1. Not enough to get close and go for a pass here, unfortunately. We see a lot of movement in the back here as we actually have GDP lose out on a few positions. Prosk manages to gain 3 positions. Mac gets a move done on the Haas as they come up onto the descent of the lake now. Mac looking for the outside pass here on the McLaren. Doesn't get a nose in, unfortunately. Defending from money here. And manages to get up alongside Gunner and gets the move done here. Coming out of the... Oh my god, that's really annoying me now. Coming out of turn 5 here. A great move here done by the Red Bull driver. IUF1 William taking advantage of the carnage ahead of him has managed to move up a few positions as well here now. Prosk, who has quite a battle here ahead of him, managing to move up 5 positions, already in 9th position here. We're going to have to see if Prosk is maybe in contention for a podium. Oh my gosh, why is that glitch happening? This is the oddest. I really don't like this game sometimes. It's supposed to be the heat from the cars, but it's throwing me off. Reimer sets our fastest lap here, leading it. Rebel quite close to the back of Reimer, looking for an outside. Maybe trying to go through an over-under. Doesn't get a nose in to get the move done as Mini B-Man gets a pass done on Money. Money, unfortunately, had a very rough start here, falling down into 12th position here. 6 positions lost overall. I have no doubt in my mind, though, that Money will be able to get the positions back here as he's now having to defend from the kick driver, Papatism here. Papatism not able to get a nose in time, and Despy here looking for the outside of Papatism now as well. A lot of fighting as he goes in through the inside on turn 6 and 7. A phenomenal pass here. Papatism not able to get anything done as GDB takes advantage of the situation. Papatism falling down into 15th position now. Focoena here eyeing the back of the Aston Martin here. Now we do know, or I believe we saw a wonderful scrap between both of these drivers here last race in Spa. We're gonna have to see if anything like that happens here again. Gunner trying to set himself up for a pass on Mutiv, almost loses the rear tires twice in a row here. That may have set him up for a possible overtake by the McLaren car here. We're watching the McLaren car gain quite a fair bit of speed here. Not able to get close enough for a move, unfortunately. IUF1 William picking up a little bit of grass there coming up into turn 4. Prosk now eyeing the back of Focoena. Focoena is not going to be happy about this now, considering how close he is to the back of both of the drivers in front. Prosk eyeing for an inside, loses control of the rears of the tire here, coming up onto turn 7. Manages to control the car. Good control there. A very ballsy dive attempt, and unfortunately did not result in anything. Prosk will most likely be able to get something done here, coming up into turn 12. Maybe not, actually. I do take it back. Prosk might be too far away to even take advantage of the DRS that's about to happen here. Goatley, who's behind Prosk, may be able to take advantage of the fact that Prosk lost control of the car like that. Rebel still eyeing the outside here as IUF1 William gets a pass done on Gunner. Coming up into turn 1. Money now setting the fastest lap of 111.030. Rebel manages to get a move done on Reimer here coming up into turn 4. A by-the-book pass, I assume, utilizing DRS here as Prosk attempts to get a pass done on Focoena coming out of turn 4. As we jump back, we see that he does not keep the position here as Focoena will be holding on to 8th position. We see Prosk really fighting the car right now. He's really really moving his wheel a lot here. As we also see Goatley. I really want to do a broadcast angle, but the heat of the cars is really bothering me right now. Hopefully it stops here shortly. Here we go. Maybe that'll help. Zero clue if that's gonna help. Did not help. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have quite a few cars here. Rebel now sets the fastest time, a 110.971 here. Goatley is quite close to the back of the Williams driver. Decides not to stick a nose in the huge lockup from almost all of these guys here as Prosk loses control of the car, compromising his exit coming out onto turn 3. Side by side, the Haas and the McLaren coming up into turn 4 as Focoena manages to get the move done here, and Gunnar is not able to take the position back. A great pass here by Focoena as he now moves up and is starting to charge his way to the back of this Aston Martin here now. Goatley sticks a nose into turn 8 and manages to get the move done. A very aggressive maneuver as Prosk hits his teammate Mini B-Man in the rear and loses control of the car, falling down into 13th. A huge moment in the race right there, especially for Prosk here. Massive, massive moment. We're going to have to see what the stewards say about that one. That was a very aggressive dive there by Goatley, which ultimately compromised Prosk and ended up causing a collision as well. Goatley now gunning for the back of Gunnar in the McLaren here. We're going to have to see if Goatley goes for a move into turn 1. Does not go for a move. Does set himself up quite nicely for a turn 2 exit here, though. We see the McLaren ride the curve a little bit as we now see Goatley be given the position. It seems like Gunnar does not fight to keep the position here. Goatley has done wonders right now this race. He's managed to get, I believe he now has the most position changes this race. Yes, 7 total position changes here. Very, very aggressive driving here from Goatley, as we just saw as well on Prosk here in turn 8. A little bit of an interesting place to try to go for a position, I guess, change really. But such is racing here. Prosk now moving past Papatism here. Papatism's actually our only driver on softs here. Everybody else has decided to stay on medium tires. We're going to have to see what the strategy is going to look like for a lot of these guys. I've zeroed out in my mind that with how aggressive the tire wear here in Interlagos can be, that harder tires are going to be your friend. I'd be really astounded if we see any soft tires here, as we actually have a caution flag come up here. I'm curious. It seems like GDB may have lost control of the car as he now falls to last position here. The kick driver, Papatism, giving up the position here to GDB and moving out of the way. Not a lot of fighting here after those first few laps of scrapping. We do have our top 4 drivers all within a second of the leader here right now. I believe even Mac is... This is a very tight-knit group right now. The top 5 drivers are all pretty much tail to tail here, and then between 5th to 6th place is a 3.3 second gap here. IUF1 William is currently the best of the rest right now. We're going to have to see if Focoena does take that title from him, though, and is maybe able to start making his way up to the group, to the front group. IUF1 William does not have DRS, as we now have Focoena going around the outside, coming up into turn 1. Very close to making contact there, trying to stick it to the outside of turn 1. Focoena manages to get a nose into turn 2 and gets the maneuver done. A fantastic move by Focoena there. And I don't believe... never mind. IUF1 William will have the advantage of DRS coming up into turn 4, but nonetheless is not able to get a move done here. A great move by Focoena. We're going to have to see if he's able to stick it through, though, for the remainder of the lap here. A little bit of a lockup swing there into turn 6, I believe, or 7, coming up into turn 8 now. Turn 9. Hitting turn 10 here. As long as IUF1 William is able to stay within a comfortable distance here, he will have advantage with DRS and will be able to close the gap here. Now, I just realized, ladies and gentlemen, Mac has fallen behind almost or is behind by 3 seconds here. It seems like Mac may have had a moment on track that we missed. Ladies and gentlemen, IUF1 William will now have the advantage of DRS here. Let's see if he is able to get anything done as they come up into turn 1, going into the inside of turn 1 here, and he does very, very cleanly place his car in front of Focoena and gets the position taken there. So great move by IUF1 William. Focoena now once again does get DRS, but as we previously saw, there isn't really enough runway there to get a move done, and this has only benefited Goatley here this whole time. So the longer IUF1 William and Goatley, and we have a moment here as Reimer lost control of the car into turn 8, falling down into 4th position here. Huge moment here as Reimer now in 4th position has to fight his way back up and has to deal with Mac, who will have DRS advantage coming up into turn 1 right now. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I do normally try to show the broadcasting mode, but for some reason, I have this strange visual glitch, and it's really bothering me. And I assume it's bothering you guys too. Look at that. It's like a weird camera glitch. Mac coming up onto the outside of Reimer into turn 1 here with DRS assistance. Not able to get the move done as Reimer actually manages to stay ahead of the Red Bull driver going through turns 1 and 2 there. A fantastic defensive maneuver through the Senna S's. Goatley does get a move done here on Focoena, managing to move up 1 position here. Now looking for the inside into turn 4, does not get a nose in, very close to contact right there. Almost a huge moment. Money gets a 3-second time penalty here for excessive track limits. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This Vapo Rub is burning my eyes right now. Oh my gosh. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize. Goatley is trying to very aggressively move up the field right now, still sticking quite close to the back of IUF1 William here, who once again will not have DRS advantage. Mac is not quite close enough to make a move here on Reimer into T1. Does back out. A little bit of a deep dive into T1 actually. Does not seem like there's any action going on here at the moment, as all the drivers are, I think, just prioritizing keeping their cars on track now. The tire wear is brutal at the moment, and I have no doubt that these guys just want to try to make it to the pit. So we're going to have to see what happens here strategy-wise, especially for people that have 2 drivers on the same team here. Rebel and Goatley are quite close to each other. Money and Gunner, I believe, can affect each other as well. They're a little too close to each other. So we'll have to see if there's any pit lane strategies here that occur as we're now coming up onto lap 12 here shortly. Mac falling behind from the Ferrari here. Losing the rear of the car. Mac loses the rear of the car coming up into turn 11 here. Thankfully, had a little bit of time. A little bit of a time gap between himself and 6th position, but now unfortunately has set himself into the firing line here of IUF1 William. Mac actually going to be our first pit lane entrance of the race here, as we have a side-by-side here of Goatley and IUF1 William. Goatley not able to get the position there, as Focoena is still kind of just eyeing the back of both of these gentlemen here. Goatley does have DRS advantage coming up onto turn 4 here. Oh, contact there on the right rear of IUF1 William and the front left of Goatley here. No damage, it seems like. A little bit more contact there. We heard a rear end there as Goatley rear ends IUF1 William, going for a dive into turn 8. We did see this previously with Goatley, and it did result in a car spinning out, and Goatley holding on to the outside, not able to get the move done. Coming up onto turn 10 now, still trying to stick his nose into the inside as they're coming up into turn 11 side by side right now. A lot of contact. There's a lot of contact happening between both of these drivers right now, and he's going for the inside onto turn 12 now. Oh my goodness. Goatley wants the position. Goatley wants this position right now. He's doing everything he can, tooth and nail, fighting against all of these drivers right now as IUF1 William dives into the pit lane here. And Focoena has a great run on Goatley coming up into turn 1. Too much speed. Goatley is not able to defend as Focoena moves up into 5th position here. Gunner AD now very close to the back of this Alpine driver right now. We have seen a lot of scrapping this race, ladies and gentlemen. An ungodly amount of fighting. Let's see who's stopped here so far. We've only had 4 stops here so far. A rear end moment there as Goatley hits the back of Focoena, loses a front wing. And Focoena loses out on 2 positions as well due to the contact into turn 4 there. Now, while that may have been an unfortunate moment for the Haas driver here, the Alpine driver ahead of him is now down a wing on a track that really requires comfortable levels of downforce here. So we're going to have to see how Goatley responds now to this unfortunate moment here. Goatley being quite aggressive here. Now, Focoena going on the outside of the McLaren here, coming up into turn 12. It seems like Gunner has given up the position willingly as they now come up here through turn 12, hitting turn 13 now. A huge moment so far this race as we have Focoena let off the gas as he starts coming into the pit lane here. It seems like none of these drivers knew where the pit lane was based off of how slow they were approaching that. Now Rebel has very comfortably led this race after Reimer's unfortunate incident. Mini B-Man, a 10-second penalty as he goes into the pit lane. A huge moment for the Williams team here. This is going to be a substantial cost of points here. Very, very unfortunate across the board. It seems to me, though, that Rebel is quite comfortable in the position he is in now. Reimer, unfortunately, has not been able to close the gap here on the top 3 drivers as he actually... GDB gets a 3-second time penalty for excessive track limits now. Is there a safety car? There's a virtual... Oh my gosh, there is a safety car. What is happening? Ladies and gentlemen, there's a full safety car happening right now. I was wondering why everybody was going so slow. This could be a huge moment here for anybody who is yet to pit, and for anybody who did pit already before the safety car, a very lucky moment as well. This is going to be probably some free positions across the board. We're going to have to see. Only the top 4 drivers have yet to pit, ladies and gentlemen. The top 4 drivers have not pitted, and I assume they're all going to be coming in right now. Right now. Let's see. Throwing up the track map, we do get to see how far ahead these guys are from the rest of the grid, and this is a pretty aggressive difference here. A 30-second gap between the top 4 to 5th place here, and we're gonna have to see if any positions change here coming out of the pit lane, and it does not seem like that happened. Rebel, David Shahud, Mahmudev, and Reimer all stay in the positions they entered in. Now this will be giving Goatley a wonderful opportunity to change his front wing now, which I've zeroed out in my mind he is quite happy about. Let's throw on our fastest laps here, ladies and gentlemen, while we're waiting for safety car conditions to end. Rebel currently leading us at a 110.971 here. I believe the next fastest individual we have on board now is Money at a 111.030. Unfortunately, Money had a bad start, I believe. I didn't get to see the action. Fell down to 11th position after starting in 6th place. We're going to have to see if Money's able to make his way back, though. We've obviously seen the speed with Money. We just have to see the pace. As now, GDB has a severe collision with IUF1 William. A huge moment here. A collision between teammates, ladies and gentlemen. A very unfortunate moment there. Ooh, as IUF1 William almost collides with Mac there as well. The Aston Martin's almost sharing penalties. It seems to me that GDB may be trying to go around the pack right now. IUF1 William is actually going into the pit lane now. Ladies and gentlemen, IUF1 William may have received damage in his contact with his teammate, GDB 0791. Super unfortunate there. No, he doesn't have any damage. I'm a little confused. GDB has thrown on intermediate tires. Ladies and gentlemen, we may be having rainy conditions here shortly, as GDB is now our first and only driver, I believe, to have no, a few of our drivers have intermediates. I did not realize this. It does seem like it's supposed to be raining here shortly. We'll have to see if this is a proper call here. I mean, it looks cloudy. I don't know if I'd say it looks rainy. We're now watching Prosk here, who did throw on intermediate tires. I'm nervous. I don't know about you guys, but I feel it in my throat, and not just the sickness. I feel like the 4 individuals who have decided to pit for tires may be huge beneficiaries of the rain that may be coming here. Unfortunately, as a spectator in the race, I don't receive any news about rain or anything like that. We actually are starting to have a few of our friends here all go into the pit lane, I assume, to throw on intermediate tires. It seems like the intermediate tire call was the move here, as Prosk, Goatley, IUF1 William, and Mini B-Man, I believe, will be taking a huge advantage here. There may be some drizzle that I can't really see on the screen yet here. Now, I will say the track looks oily, but I don't think it looks wet yet. Nonetheless, here, Prosk has managed to gain a wonderful amount of positions here, as the rest of the grid actually, or nearly the rest of the grid here, is throwing on intermediate tires. Our top 4 drivers are staying out, though, opting to not change their tires. And that's a raindrop, ladies and gentlemen. We do have a few raindrops now hitting the camera here, and it seems like the intermediate tire pit stop strategy was the maneuver. A very, very, very lucky safety car here has allowed many of our drivers to take advantage of the situation and throw intermediates on ahead of time. We're going to have to see how the top 4 drivers respond to this, as the safety car will actually be in this lap, ladies and gentlemen. Never mind. We're going to have to see what happens here at the front of the grid. David Shahud will be our starter here. Look at that bunched up grid with the weird glitch. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I really wish I could fix whatever is happening right there. Mahmudev here eyeing for the inside of David Shahud. David is not starting us off yet. Not taking us back to racing conditions. I am so curious as to what David's strategy here is. David now puts pedal to the metal and sends us off into racing conditions here. A fantastic start. A very interesting strategy if you were to ask me here. As Goatley now looking for the inside of Focoena here, not able to get a nose in, kind of entering T1 at an odd angle, as Money now moves up into 6th position in hard tires. IUF1 William touches the back, nearly losing control of the car. Prosk moving up into, or stays in 7th position. Money managing to take advantage of the situation here and moving up back to where he started the race. Huge lockup there, almost rear-ending Goatley. Money having a fantastic race here so far. Rebel moving up past Mini B-Man. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to see. I'm so curious how this tire strategy is going to play a role here right now. I honestly, frankly believe, as Money tries to go around the outside of Goatley, a little bit of side pod contact here, as they're now coming up on, oh, they're locked, wheel to wheels. They come up into turn 10. A lot of contact happening right now. No wing damage from what I can tell. No wing damage from what I can tell, as Money moves up past Goatley into 5th position. A fantastic scrap between both of these drivers. A little bit aggressive if you were to ask me, but hey, that's racing, baby. As Prosk now fighting side by side against IUF1 William here, manages to get the move done. Papa Tism taking advantage of the scrap here. Also moves up past Papa or IUF1 William. Or no, not yet. They're fighting side by side right now here at the moment. Coming up into turn 1, we're going to have to see who gets the position here. Papatism diving out of the corner here, allowing IUF1 William to keep the position. Fantastic, fantastic racing we're watching here so far, guys. It seems like all the hard tires have been, all the people who didn't pit are the beneficiaries so far of this fight. The intermediate tires of the rest of the grid are going to be so worn out by the time this track really becomes wet that it's we're just going to have to see how it affects the grid. Now, Prosk and Goatley, ladies and gentlemen, these guys once again side by side in with each other here. We did see them have some major contact with each other as Prosk goes for the inside onto turn 10. And manages to get the move done, it seems like. Coming up into turn 11, Goatley still fighting side by side. Coming up into turn 12, Goatley ahead of him by a nose here. Prosk going around the outside, and Prosk managing to get the maneuver done. Coming out of turn 12, a fantastic, fantastic pass here. Excuse me. An incredible sequence of events as Mahmudev, ladies and gentlemen, gets a pass done here as well for first position. Side by side, it's almost 3 cars wide as IUF1 William goes up to the front here. Reimer trying to stick a nose in as well. There is so much fighting happening right now. It's kind of blowing my mind a little bit. I wish I wasn't stuffy. I am struggling to talk right now. There's so much happening. Goatley still sniffing the back of the Williams driver here. Going for the inside onto turn 4. As Prosk has to swing wide to avoid contact, coming back up into the track, and GDB retires from the session. Reimer looking at the back of the Williams driver now, backing out. Is that a safety car? That may be a safety car, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there is another safety car on track after a fantastic, fantastic fight right there. An incredible amount of combat just occurred. And Money gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. A super unfortunate moment for the McLaren driver. After such a fantastic restart here, there is another safety car. This race has been intense. Oh my gosh, sorry guys. I'm gonna like stop breathing here. I'm like struggling to breathe. I can't breathe through my nose anymore. Oh my goodness. I'm so angry that the camera's being dumb right now. I can't believe that there's this weird glitch happening. We're missing out on so many angles. As we're now watching a lot of these drivers go into the pit lane here right now. All of our intermediate tire, or most of our intermediate tire drivers here diving into the pit lane. Let's throw on some fun little data here. Ladies and gentlemen, it has not rained enough yet for our lead drivers to think that it's worth changing their tires yet. I don't know about you guys, but it seems to be drizzling a whole lot more. We're starting to get wet patches here from what I can tell on track now. I think it might be wet tire time. We actually have some of our drivers now changing their tire. Prosk, who was on intermediate tires, went back to hard tires. Goatley decided to stay on intermediate tires. IUF1 William decided to stay on intermediate tires as well here. Reimer went back to intermediate tires. We're having a lot of very strategic decisions being made here. We're going to have to see who ultimately benefits. There are still 15 laps left, I believe, this race. So the rain is very much a real factor that can affect everybody here. And with how long the safety car is going to stay out, most likely, I think it's tire time. I think it's tire change time here. Oh my goodness. A fantastic race here in Sao Paulo. I absolutely love this track. It just doesn't matter what division or level of racing you're at. It is a fantastic race to watch. I mean, I've been having an absolute blast. I don't know about you guys. This has been better than Spa, and I thought Spa was a fantastic race. This is stupid. Look at the glitch here. Why does it need? I don't need to see the car heat. It's not a critical component here for me. Such a dumb glitch, man. So sorry about that, guys. This has never happened before, too. You know what? I'll tell you guys if something happens. I'm going to throw on some technical difficulties while I maybe see if I can figure it out for the remainder of the race here. I guarantee there's something here. Ambient textures. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot change my graphical settings without risking me getting kicked out of the session, and I think this session has simply been too good for me to risk that right now at the moment. So I do apologize. Safety car will be in this lap, though. Safety car will be in this lap. How many stops do we have? We have a few one-stoppers, and that's been the front of our grid here so far. Money has yet to serve his drive-through penalty, though, as Mahmudev will now be the one starting us off here. Ladies and gentlemen, you can really see the specks of water on the track now. I think it might have been a little bit of a risky call here, not going in for fresh intermediate tires. As Mahmudev now starts us off, we hear him skid a little bit off the start there. Those tires may be struggling as David Shahud now goes into the pit lane. Foko Enna stays out. Our top 4 drivers, ladies and gentlemen, have all decided to pit here, except for Mahmudev, excuse me. And it seems to me that individuals who decided to stay out for or decided to get a fresh set of intermediate tires will be the beneficiaries now, as Ayufon William is looking on the inside of Foko Enna, diving in into turn 4. Ayufon William manages to move up into second position. A aggressive maneuver there from Ayufon William, and he gets the maneuver done nonetheless here. Goatley looking on the inside of turn 6, going through turn 7, manages to get the move done. Prosk also now trying to push up past the Haas driver here. Super, super unfortunate for Foko Enna here, as he has now lost 3 whole positions here. Prosk is actually on hard tires here at the moment, though, and I don't believe this is going to work out for him. Oh my goodness. What is happening? We see Prosk starting to struggle with the tires there a little bit, losing the rear of the car. Prosk, I think, doubted himself, going on to hard tires, and this may have cost him some significant position in the race here, as Mahmudev now decides to pit for intermediate tires as well. Foko Enna still decides to stay out. Ladies and gentlemen, Foko Enna and Prosk still staying out on hard tires. Mini B-Man gets a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I believe that's his first one of that type, so nothing bad, I guess, actually. Never mind. This has been huge upsets here throughout this race so far. Look at the bottom half of our grid here, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody coming out of the pit lane here. David Shahud leading this little pack here, followed very closely by Mudev, though. We're going to have to see if these guys decide to work together to try to move up past the field. I think this is intermediate tire time. I don't think this is slick tires anymore. Prosk is going to be missing out on a lot of positions here the longer he waits to pit. Prosk, Foko Enna, Despy, Gunner, Rebel, and Papatism here are going to be feeling the effects of staying out on slick tires right now. I don't believe the rain is going away fast enough for the end of the race here. Rebel gets a move done here on Gunner. Prosk still staying out. It seems like our drivers are sticking to their guns and they're deciding to stay out here at the moment. We're going to have... I'm so curious. I'm so curious. Maybe their engineer's telling them something I don't know. Now, hypothetically speaking, Papatism, a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. We've gotten a lot of speeding in the pit lane penalties today. I don't know about you guys, but hypothetically speaking, if the slick tire people stay on the dry line, maybe. You know what I'm saying? It might work out for them. I don't know. I think that's a very difficult ask for any driver to try to do, as we have Prosk now gain a 3-second time penalty fighting with the tires right now. Now, Prosk is currently leading a train at the moment. I don't believe DRS is enabled now with the rain starting. So this is going to be pure racing here. No DRS assistance. It's going to be battery and driver skill now. These drivers still deciding to stay out. There are 11 laps left of this race as Focoena has a very strong speed into the turn turn one. Decides to not try to go for past Prosk here. I'm stumbling over my words right now. I'm just flabbergasted as we now have Focoena going around the outside on turn 3, managing to get the move done. It looks like coming up into the DRS zone, and DRS is in fact still active, ladies and gentlemen. DRS is in fact still active as Focoena now moves up into 4th position on 12-lap-old hard tires. A fantastic move by Focoena here as Prosk now falls behind and becomes victim possibly to Rebel here. This has been incredible. I can't believe one of the best races of the season is being ruined by this dumb visual glitch of mine, man. If you're joining me here for the first time, Prosk loses the rear tires as he touches some grass. Prosk is going to fall behind a few positions now here as Gunnar is now coming up behind him onto turn 11. I do believe Gunnar backed off. Gunnar has decided not to go for the pass attempt, but Prosk does miss out on yet another position after losing control of the rear tires after touching a little bit of grass there. I mean, it's... Oh my goodness. Rebels going into the pit lane for intermediate tires, I assume. Oh my gosh. I'm so flabbergasted. I don't even know what's happening right now. Reimer gets a maneuver done on Goatley here. Mudev and David Shahud here now fighting, and it seems like Mudev does get the pass done very easily on the Haas coming up into turn 1 here. A lot of little passes happening right now. Oh, actually, no, this is a pit lane pass. Ladies and gentlemen, we may be having a pit lane race here, and no, I take it back. Despy moves up on ahead of Rebel, and Mac also moves on up ahead of Rebel. The two Red Bull drivers will be having a 2v1 fight against one of the faster drivers of the grid here. We've had a fantastic race here, an unreal amount of strategy used so far by all of our drivers here, a lot of decision making. And IUFO and Williams, ladies and gentlemen, I believe for the first time in Season 13 has led, I believe, 5 consecutive laps here. Huge congratulations to IUFO and Williams as well as the Aston Martin team. But unfortunately for IUFO and Williams, he has Reimer and Goatley behind him. Now, if IUFO and Williams is lucky enough, Goatley gives enough trouble to Reimer to slow him down. And this obviously benefits him enough to keep the position here. But it doesn't seem to me that Goatley's able to get much closer. As we actually have a slow moment here. It seems like one of the McLaren drivers in the back here may have lost control of their car a little bit. I do apologize. I am keeping the I'm keeping the track map on the bottom right here at the moment, just to make sure I don't miss out on any more safety cars, as it doesn't inform me otherwise if there's a safety car. Rebel gets the move done on Mac and Despy. I didn't realize. It seems like our Alpine driver is very quickly moving up the field now. Ladies and gentlemen, Goatley is not able to close the gap on Reimer right now, while Reimer is closing the gap. And we have Gunnar AD, who lost control of the car, falling down into 8th position here, is now going to be at risk of getting overtaken here by Rebel as they come up onto turn 12 now. Gunnar is on medium tires still. Yes, this is just going to be a very simple pass here, ladies and gentlemen. Slick tires are no longer the move here, I believe. I believe slick tires are no longer the move. Reimer is now within a second of IUFO and William here. Goatley is still within a second of Reimer as well, though. This is going to be a very interesting three-way fight. We've seen an incredible amount of scrapping between IUFO and William and other drivers, as well as Goatley and other drivers. And then we have Reimer, who is a driver's champion contender. stuck between two rocks, essentially. This is a rock in a hard place right now. We're going to have to see how Reimer handles this. Reimer's going to want a very clean overtake, because anything less than a clean overtake will suscept them to either one of these drivers being able to fight back, and that may be race ending. Money, a 3-second time penalty for excessive track limits as Ayof William goes into the pit lane. What? What? Ladies and gentlemen, Ayof William dives into the pit lane, even though he already had intermediate tires on. I'm really confused right now. Ayof William diving into the pit lane despite having 9-lap old intermediate tires is now getting a fresh set of intermediate tires, coming out in 5th position and risking a podium finish. Ayof William may be risking a podium finish right now. We're gonna have to see what the strategy is here. Maybe these intermediate tires are beyond used. Maybe 9 laps is just way too much. We're gonna have to see if the strategy call from the Aston Martin driver ends up working out for him. Goatley still very, very close to the back of the Scuderia Ferrari here. Mahmudev now managed to come out here behind Ayof William after his pit lane stop. It seems like these older tires are in fact dealing with very aggressive wear and tear at the moment. So this may have been, ladies and gentlemen, this may have been the move here. Ayof William, his early pit stop may have given him a very strong chance for the podium here. Now, there is 15 seconds between 3rd and 2nd place, so we're going to have to see if he's able to close that gap. He already moves up and past Prosk here into 4th place here, now eyeing the back of Focoena here. Focoena, who's been eyeing and wanting a podium for so long now. We're going to have to see how Focoena decides to defend against this driver. It seems like the tire advantage of the intermediates is simply too much here as Ayof William moves around the outside of Focoena and gets the pass done. Mahmudev here going onto the inside of Prosk here into turn 4. A very by-the-book pass here and very simply done. Very, very beautiful. Prosk here dealing with some car trouble here as he's struggling to keep it on track. It's scaring David Shahud. We're watching David kind of shuffling around. He does get the pass done here up onto turn 6, coming up onto turn 8 now. Very, very unfortunate. Both of the Haas drivers here are split now by a Mercedes. We're going to have to see how Focoena decides to defend this. Focoena keeping the position into turn 8 here. It seems like Focoena may be playing a team game, I think, as Focoena is now moving side by side here, trying to block the Mercedes driver. And David Shahud tries to go for an inside as well on his teammate as Mahmudev gets the pass done into turn 12. Focoena gives up the position to his teammate and falls down into 6th place. Prosk 2 seconds behind him in 7th. Oh my goodness, guys. There's been so much action. I'm struggling right now. I'm really struggling to talk. Oof. There seems to be a safety car. Ladies and gentlemen, there seems to be a full-blown safety car. I'm unsure what could have happened here. I can't. Money is missing his left front end plate there. That may have brought out a safety car. Or virtual safety car at least. No, this is a full-blown safety car. Ladies and gentlemen, we may be finishing this race under safety car conditions right now. Money, a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Money has retired from the session. Very unfortunate for the McLaren team. Thankfully, there's only 15 drivers on the grid here at PSF1. We do allow, or we do give points between 1st to 15th place. So that will still be some very much needed points for the McLaren team. Huge moment though throughout the race. There's been huge moments. The first safety car into the rain, some of the decision making here from some of the guys on staying on slick tires. Goatley and Reimer are going into the pit lane. They're so far ahead from the rest of the grid that they're just deciding to get a fresh pair of softs here, or of intermediates, and that might give IUF and William an opportunity to close the gap here. Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, IUF1 William comes out in the lead of the race now. His early pit stop ahead of the safety car here, benefiting him, giving him first place now. He will be on older tires, but nonetheless, they're fresh enough to be able to do something with the remaining laps left in this race. We're watching a lot of changes happen right now. A lot of pit lane stops here. Let's throw on some pit lane data. IUF1 William here with 4 stops. Mini B-Man has 5 stops. Mini B-Man, 5 stops in the Williams here. In 12th position right now at the moment. This has been an incredible, incredible race. Let's throw on some penalties here. We only have 2 penalties on the board at the moment. Goatley has a 3-second time penalty, and Prosk has a 3-second time penalty. Now Goatley is going to want to hope that that everybody behind him explodes. I genuinely don't know what you can do at this point. I mean, Goatley is currently at risk of falling down into 5th position at the moment, which is going to be a pretty big loss considering how much we've seen Goatley here fight for this podium right now. There might not be, this might be it. This race might finish under safety car. 3 laps left. There are 3 laps left right now. I know IUF1 William is praying that this race finishes under safety car. This would be his first place finish ever on the podium. Mahmudov and David Shahud are on very old intermediate tires. If the safety car goes away soon enough, I do believe Goatley may be quick enough on these fresh tires to get away and maybe gain a 3-second gap here as Reimer wiggling quite a lot here in front of Goatley, trying to warm up his tires, I assume. What a race we've had so far today. If you're joining me here for the first time, do say something in the chat here. I love talking with you guys. If you are a longtime viewer, welcome. You've been watching a fantastic race here today. I mean, Interlagos just always gives you magic. Ladies and gentlemen, safety car is in this lap. Safety car is in this lap. We're going to have to see what happens now. IUF1 William will be able to control and dictate when this race starts. Let's see how he takes advantage of the situation. Oh my goodness. IUF1 William takes us back into racing conditions. That may have been a little too close. Reimer not able to get a move down. Shoves a nose into the inside to sell IUF1 William a dummy. IUF1 William does not take the bait here. David Shahud now fighting side by side. Prosk and Focoena. A little bit of scrapping here as Focoena manages to move on past. And Rebel takes some wing damage, I assume, attempting to pass David Shahud here. I believe Rebel has right front end plate wing damage. A big moment here at the end of the race, especially in rainy conditions right now. Oh my goodness. This is the race for first right now. As Reimer is attempting to stick a nose into turn 8 here, IUF1 William blocks it off a little bit, taking it very slowly here, really choking up Reimer right now at the moment. We can see IUF1 William taking very defensive lines right now as he's trying to block any attempt that Reimer may have to get his car into place. Mac and Despy, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, may have spun each other out there. Very unfortunate. But going back to our first place fight, IUF1 William here, managing to stay ahead of the Scuderia Ferrari driver. And Goatley is almost 3 seconds ahead of Mahmudov as well, and may be able to stay in third place. This is the final lap here of our Season 13 PSF1 Interlagos GP. Rebel quite close to the back of Focoena here right now. Both Haas cars kind of working together, I would say. Ladies and gentlemen, Reimer may not be close enough to make a move by the remainder of this race. Goatley is still not 3 seconds ahead of Mahmudov. Mahmudov may still be able to get a podium finish unless those 12-lap-old tires don't work out for this middle sector. Mahmudov is almost 3 seconds out of range here. 2.9. Ladies and gentlemen, if Goatley gets a good exit here, Goatley will be keeping third place here. It seems like Goatley is going to be able to stay in the third place here. Reimer not close enough to get a podium or get the top spot on the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner for the Interlagos GP is IUF1 William in the Aston Martin. Congratulations. A huge, huge race, a huge finish, followed by Reimer in the Scuderia Ferrari, followed by Goatley in the Alpine. A fantastic, fantastic race here. Unreal decision-making from a lot of these drivers. IUF1 William with the early pit stop before the safety car, netting him the first place finish, managing to defend Reimer for 3 laps. Goatley is able to pull 3 seconds ahead of Mahmudov and keeps a podium finish. Fantastic racing today. I hope you guys have had just as much fun as I have. This has been a unreal race. So much action, so much fighting. I mean, I don't think you could ask for anything better than what we just witnessed here today. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. IUF1 William here, top spot on the podium, a U.S. driver. Congratulations for his first podium finish of the season here. A huge moment for the Aston Martin team. A huge congratulations to Reimer as well and Goatley. Fantastic driving from everybody here. I mean, cinema. Absolute cinema. We're watching our podium finishers here. Some of our drivers are leaving. Goatley didn't stay for a celebration. That's sad. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That was a race. Oh my goodness. That was a race and a half. Oh man. Oh, I can't breathe. I'm like, my nose is all stuffed up. There's so much action. Oh, this may have been the race of the season so far. And I've said that a few times because every race is just another absolute masterclass from all of our drivers. I hope you guys had a fantastic time. I'm still kind of like awestruck from what I had to witness here. But enough of that. I will be uploading this to YouTube, so if you're interested in watching the replay here, do take advantage of that. Other than that, here we're looking at our calendar. There is going to be a break next week, so that'll be a good cool off after having such fantastic races here coming out of the winter break. And then January 25th, coming back from the break, we'll be racing in Suzuka, and that race will have a sprint involved. So I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun for everybody. But, ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host here today, Wild Hero, the commentator for the Purple Sector F1 Racing League. I hope you guys have had a fantastic time. I know I did, and I look forward to seeing you guys in 2 weeks. So, I will be signing out.